back. We got more Overwatch for you here. Kilios back with Wolf. Ready to dive in. We've got the Seoul Dynasty going up against the San Francisco Shock. The return of the Nighthawk Router Rumble. So I hope you guys are ready to dive in because this could be one hell of a crazy setup.
It certainly could. And, you know, there's a lot of prestige around wearing that golden router belt that Brian presented last time. We'll see if the San Francisco Shock can hold on to it. Because it's a new meta, it's a new world we are living in here with the roll-lock of 2-2 and 2. Looking at the season standings, both, you know, the Shock is up here at 3rd. Dynasty was, you know, until very recently up in top 6 as well. They've just been knocked down a peg by the London Spitfire. They've got a really good map differential here. If they're able to take this win against Shock, which would be one of the tougher ones for them in this stage, they're going to put themselves in pretty good solidified position to make that top 6 spot.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a major upset here for the Seoul Dynasty. They've squared off against the Shock twice now. You know, the first Router Rumble that we had lost 0-4. So the Shock had a pretty dominant performance to lock down that golden belt the first time out.
Indeed. And, you know, it was a very one-sided series. This is when Seoul was still sort of figuring out their 12-man roster. And, you know, you see one name in particular notably on there was Fisher, of course. He's left the team. Now Munchkin has left the team as well. And to take that golden belt away from Super is not going to be an easy feat here with Seoul Dynasty, but they're going to be playing some of these, you know, damage players. They're going to be playing heroes that we haven't seen them on in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of a toss-up, even with the loss of some of the players on the side of the Seoul Dynasty, who they're going to run. But we also have to wonder who is going to be playing for the San Francisco Shock. We've got 4 different damage dealers that could be coming out here with Striker and Architect. We've already seen both of them so far this season in the stage playoffs, but will they make a return today, or will we get Rascal and Sinatra?
I think there's a really good chance that we will see Striker today because of his play that we already saw from him in the playoffs. But, you know, I think we might see a mixture of them throughout the series. We're seeing a lot of teams substitute DPS players based on map. And I think that's something that we could absolutely see here in this series as well.
Very well could happen, but guys, let's go ahead and tee this one off. The Router Rumble round 2, get ready to kick off.
Both these teams obviously representing the Nighthawk, and this is our inaugural Router Rumble. They're going to lose more players. Munchkin is not going to let Sinatra get away.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winners of the Nighthawk Router Rumble, the San Francisco Shock!
Your first team looking to claim the belt for themselves, it's the Seoul Dynasty!
Not everyone was ready to accept or cash the check on Seoul Dynasty's 12-man roster. They're down to 10 now, and they're going to have to solidify who are the players in the DPS role this stage to guarantee themselves that playoff spot. They're just on the cusp. Today, it's going to be Fleta and Fitz starting off in that role. Or sorry, Fitz and Illicit, excuse me, starting off in that role. And, you know, Illicit, I think he's going to show some really good flex play here. He's always been a flex DPS. He's always been a projectile player. And I think that's super important right now in this meta.
Well, their opponents looking for the upset here. Dynasty are. They're trying to take them down. The current holders of the Golden Router belt. It's the San Francisco Shock.
Oh, look at Super walking out with the Golden Router belt. He doesn't wear belts on his hips. He puts them over his shoulder. Sunglasses, walking out all cool. And this is the Shock going to defend their title. They may not be the Stage 3 champions, but they do have that Nighthawk Router Rumble Championship belt. There it is on the Nighthawk Router Championship belt podium.
Oh, we've got Brent standing by on the floor, so Brent, take it away.
My first question for you, Super. Firstly, what numbers are you putting up on the bench press?
About 500 kilograms these days.
500 kilograms. That's up from your previous numbers, right?
Correct.
Okay, impressive work. So, right now your team, defending holders right now of the Golden Router Rumble belt as it stands for the Nighthawk Router Rumble. I mean, there's many awards right now in the Overwatch League. There's the stage finals, you know, there's the grand finals, but nothing even comes close to the Nighthawk Router Rumble. How much pressure right now is your team feeling based off of this alone?
Well, you know, listen, Brent, we're looking to become the back-to-back, the two-time. You understand? We're not settling for one, we're going for two. This is very important. Very important.
Very important. You hit it here first. Okay, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I'm going to take the belt from you. Again, you guys are going to be fighting for this one live on this stage right now. I wish you the best of luck moving forward to this match.
Thank you, sir.
Back to you guys. Who we got up there? We couldn't afford Monty Odoa. What is it? Wolf and Seth, back to you guys.
Nice.
Whoa, whoa.
Thank you, Brent.
Brent, I hope you enjoy the desk down there. You're not going to be up here.
We're up here. You're down there. You can be the mule for the belt. You carry that one around. We'll cast the actual match. But here you go. Your starting lineup for the San Francisco Shock. It's going to be Striker and Rascal in damage, and Smurf coming in. So Super just carrying the belt out with the squad, but will not be starting.
Yeah, it's going to be Striker and Rascal here as the DPS lineup, and that's very exciting to see. You know, there are 3 DPS players you think of in the Overwatch League that can play almost anything. 2 of them just won our last series, and Birdring and Prophet. Rascal, their former teammate, is one such player. You know, he's been mostly on the Brigida this season, but he is the first real Batiste player in the league to play it consistently well. And now that he's going back to the damage role, you have to expect we're going to see a lot of flexibility from him as the series goes on. If one player of these 2 will sub out, I believe it would be Striker. It might be a control-only thing that we see from him. We're seeing a lot more Tracer on control, in particular, a lot more Sombra. So there's a pretty good chance I think we see Architect subbed in later for Striker, but I think Rascal is going to be the staple.
Well, we can go ahead and assess a little bit further as we take a look at the map set presented by Toyota. We'll be starting off on Busan again, so yeah, Tracer, certainly possible, especially when we get over to Shrine. So we'll see what happens here, or rather Sanctuary. And then we'll go to Anubis, then into Hollywood, and then Havana again to round things out. Unless we can go the distance here. Seoul Dynasty again, gonna be looking for that upset. Let's see if they can find as we kick off the Nighthawk Router Rumble round 2.
Illicit, very much a flexible DPS player throughout his, you know, pretty short career, to be honest. He jumped right into the Overwatch League after a year of Contenders play. And the Mei is going to be the hero he takes up with Rascal. He's played a lot of Mei back to the old Mei metas. It's not a, you know, new hero for him. It's the flexibility we're talking about for these 2 players. But it will be the Reaper for Fitz. So the synergy between Mei and Reaper, we've already seen it today. It's very powerful.
Malik continuing to be validated. Yes. As the Reaper gets some more and more stage time. We'll see how Fitz manages. Had some fantastic highlight performances earlier on from Megachu and Corey. Wall going to be coming up. They try to hide in behind the barrier. Troyhoven gets the hook through, and that's going to be Illicit taken down, and Fitz antied out by the Bionate Violet.
Really nice Mei wall there from Rascal, and that is just going to lock them up. Rascal is using that Ice Block to get a little bit more ult charge from the healing, and that's going to be the first point going over to the San Francisco Shock. Now, the Dynasty don't, on this particular round here, on this part of Busan, don't face the same problems we saw with the Mei Reaper earlier from the Justice, because they don't have to fight for high ground. It's a pretty flat plane how this map was played. There's a few choke points. Obviously, you could get high ground like this as a Widow, but you know, they should be able to contest the point relatively easily.
Gotta be careful. Shot coming out from Illicit. Just trying to catch up towards that Blizzard. Rascal about to have his online. Striker into the back. Just line up a shot there on defense. Will be an exchange though. Troyhoven falls. 1-for-1, but Shock still looking to hold down those points. Striker now, however, going to be eliminated. Marvel comes up with that kill. The Coalescence is out from Jayhawk. Blizzard thrown down. Rascal looking for the finish here on the Jexay. Takes some low, can't quite get him. Will be able to turn around, get the pop out here on Michelle's mech. And help finish off that Baby Diva. Goes into the ice block momentarily. Has to put the wall up. Oh man, might have canceled it a bit too soon. He didn't get the healing in. Didn't have any last stability. Does get picked off, and now it's looking like the Dynasty might be able to flip this one back in.
It's really exciting to see Troyhoven on the Roadhog here. Unfortunately, not able to stave anything off there at the last second, but he's been a diva player through and through throughout his career, and we haven't really seen that much Roadhog from him in the Overwatch League, and it's exciting to see that now. He's gonna come back with the Hog here.
Mile driver through, but Marvel does a lot of damage. Answer back here on the Striker, get topped up. Angle, and that's going to be illicit gone. Now sound barrier in. Jexay still trying to win out the fight. The Death Blossom comes through, but they get the sleep here on defense. The Striker goes forward. Struck up into the air. Hoping just going to be taking a breather to keep himself alive and violent. Can't say the same. Hook goes through onto Michelle, trying to get him out of that mech again. Dynasty still down a member, trying to hold control of this point, but the barrier is set from Smurf. They try to close this one out, and with that hook going through onto Jayhawk, the healing going to be severely limited, and Michelle is knocked out, so it seems like the Shock will be able to reclaim this over time, unless the Dynasty pull off a hold.
Fitz is back, but he's so low, he probably won't be able to heal his way back up. Buying time.
Marvel as well, trying to do what he can. Fitz comes in from behind, actually takes out Rascal as the Blizzard comes out. Capitalization not quite there yet for the Shock, and hanging up on top, Jexay is gonna out-snipe Striker. As a Lucio comes up with a kill. The Dynasty are in the lead at the moment here, as far as his percentage is concerned, hitting 70%. But now Michelle pulled back in, knocked out. Shock grinding it away, Whole Hog gonna be committed as well. Will allow them to get this flip.
Flip finally comes through. The Dynasty delayed that very well. Fitz got half of another Death Blossom. The synergy wasn't there with his Death Blossom with Jexay's Sound Barrier. That was the idea for the last one he used. But unfortunately, the Shock were just in better position. The Death Blossom didn't really do much damage. Striker's gonna swap over to the Sombra here for that extra last ability of this point hold, where they can look to win this round with the EMP. Better than the Widow when you don't have line of sight control.
Yep. They can't quite wall them all off. The sound barriers through from Jexay as they charge forward over onto the point. Wall coming up now from Illicit, looking for the freeze. The Blizzard comes down. Have to cut through that shielding, but they're able to do so with the help of the Reaper from Fitz. He's getting closer and closer to that next Death Blossom. Slump for the moment, will get woken up, stands up, and now has the ult online. He takes out Treyhoben, looking for an extra kill here on the Smurf. They'll be able to find it. The Shock is looking to delay up to 99%. They're gonna get pretty darn close. Yeah, we'll be able to reach that point here, but now the Seoul Dynasty are back in control. They've got a Coalescence, they've got a Death Blossom.
The EMP Blizzard is going to be how Shock is going to try to retake this point. Rascal will need to hit a few more right clicks or just simply charge it up here during the fight in order for that to be potent. There's no sound barrier yet, so this is a great timing window for the Shock to retake via Striker's EMP. Unseen so far as he loops around, he's trying to catch Jexay if he can.
Coming in, diving to the back from Marvel. EMP goes out, only manages to catch two, cannot get Jexay. The sound barrier is getting closer and closer, but now Jayhawk's gonna be taken out of the fight. Listen to Marvel, all gonna be gone. Into the ice, Black goes Rascal, trying to survive. It's doing what he can, offering up a bit of damage, nearly takes out Treyhoben. But now the shotgun blaster coming through. He does manage to finish him off, but Jexay is still there. The healing's rolling in, and the Dynasty will in fact be able to take the first round of Busan.
Fitz able to get that Death Blossom off during the EMP. He was not caught by it, so they go off at the same time. He gets the kills on the Shock's healers, and they just don't have enough sustainability to win the longer fight afterwards, despite their own picks coming through when Rascal's Blizzard hit. So it was very nice play by Seoul Dynasty, and you know, we see it all the time in Sombra metas, where you engage before the EMP or during the EMP to try to force the EMP to either be used incorrectly or not on the pivotal point. In this case, they got kills during the EMP, so ends up being a pretty incredible way to shut that down when you don't have a sound barrier the moment it hits. This is a great section of Busan for Widow, the mecha base. Striker is going to go back to it here, and it's going to be very pivotal potentially in this neutral fight where he's going to have long sight lines.
Fitz just sticking through with the Reaper. All from Smurf for now. Not going to be able to find anything. Hook comes through, but oh man, he goes over onto the side of the wall. Keeps himself safe, now goes into the Wraith block. Rascal popped into the ice block. Saint now for Illicit. Pops back out, looking for a freeze onto somebody. Now the push forward from the rest of the squad means that the kills start spilling forward for the Seoul Dynasty. What comes up in the stairwell? Clean up Smurf. They'll get Violet as well. And that should be the first point lockdown going the way of Seoul.
Striker swaps back over to the Sombra. The Sombra is actually not just for EMP. We talk about the big impact of Sombra being EMP, but it's actually quite strong against the Wrecking Ball because you can prevent the ball from, of course, escaping or using its shield. And you could also shut down Reaper. If Reaper is hacked, he cannot use his Wraith Walk away. Pretty unlikely that's going to happen, but it's a very strong counter if it does hit.
Up on the top lane for that pile driver. Now Illicit going to be taken down. Going to make it to the ice block soon enough. Maybe it was on cooldown. By the way, hard to say. Coalescence is in. Striker going to be taken out, but still looking like a Shock. Able to answer back quite strongly with this push. Getting up those kills and making their way over onto the point. Marvel, oh man, frozen in midair. Let's get caught there. Jexay delaying for a little bit longer, but we'll have to peel back as the clip comes through. 31% of the board for Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah, between the freezing, slowing, and axe, it's very difficult to play Wrecking Ball into the composition the San Francisco Shock are running. So Marvel's got the minefield. I think he's going to stick with this regardless. They have a really nice fight coming up with them. Sound barrier to engage.
Online, barrier to engage, as you say. Minefield dropped in. Over on the side. Not quite where you want it to be, but that's a really good look for Michelle. Takes away Rascal's Blizzard. Denying that one out as Illicit uses his own bomb up over the top for Michelle. Not going to be able to find anything, but the Death Blossom takes down Malt. The Supercharger is eliminated. The Violet gone. Just be the cleanup here for the side of the Seoul Dynasty as they get a fast flip back. Shock barely taking the lead.
There were a lot of naysayers about this Reaper composition that's becoming more popular right now. I believe this is the first Korean roster, full Korean roster to run this with the Mei so far here in Stage 4. And you can really see the synergy, and I feel like, you know, the naysayers will fade away here as this becomes very meta, especially on Busan. They're making it work and making it look very easy to execute. The Shock have EMP, there's no sound barrier, but they have to get into position to use it. And again, it's Fitz who's being the aggressor.
Flying up here onto the high ground. Shotgun blast at that range, not going to offer up too much damage. Freeze getting ready to come through again on a Marvel, trying to cut him off with that wall and deny some healing through. EMP goes out, manages to hit two. Marvel and Illicit both going to be hacked, but Jayhong's got that coalescence rolling. He's keeping everybody else topped off. Striker, after using the ult, gets taken down by Fitz, who continues to find kill after kill for his team.
You can feel the lack of experience on the Sombra from Striker. He's trying to both backcap the point, which he did very briefly, but also setting up for an EMP fight. So he's not where his team is. They can't capitalize on the EMP. He's alone, has to translocate out because he almost dies while on the point. Just showcasing a lack of experience on the hero. And that's a problem. Striker gonna swap to match the Reaper, but it's a bit late.
Looking forward, Blizzard coming in, and Michelle does it again. Replicating the performance of gods from the first map. Also, Busan gets rid of another Blizzard. Minefield cleans up Smurf. Half the team of the Shock gonna be gone. Bombs in from Choyobin. Manages to find Jexay, but they're gonna need so much more than that if they want to close it out. Jayhong kills off his counterpart Violet. They freeze up Choyobin and finish off the Baby Diva. OT dwindles away. They tag in on the point for just a moment. But there's nothing really more that Striker can do by himself. He'll elongate this for a little bit longer. It would take a masterclass performance here from Smurf to try to turn things around, but he's already frozen, chunked down below half HP, and finished off by Fitz. And that'll be it, the closeout on Busan. Seoul Dynasty, they take the first map here.
The Reaper Mei is looking very strong right now, and Seoul Dynasty are one map closer to taking back the Nighthawk Router Rumble Championship belt. And this is a great start. Fitz packs up the keyboard. He's done his job.
Yeah, fantastic start for the Dynasty. Let's see if the Shock can even us up when we come back for the next map.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
The current holders of the Golden Router belt, they suffer a loss here in map number 1. Busan goes the way of Seoul Dynasty. San Francisco Shock looking a little shook after that one.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, you could definitely feel the surprise and the shock and how much they struggled. But talking about Striker, one of the big MVP candidates for last season, one of the world's best Tracer players, what he's most famous for, you know, for a lot of people who've started watching the Overwatch League fairly recently, or even this year, might not be familiar with this guy's incredible past on the Boston Uprising. Now he's playing a little bit more Widowmaker. We're seeing the hero pool widen. But on the same note, you know, he was one of the players who really struggled in that last map because of his lack of experience on Sombra. Mechanically and aim-wise, sure, he's done fine on the Sombra. But trying to both backcap the point and set up for an EMP fight, something you just usually are unable to do, ended up costing them big there. They didn't get the payoff on the EMP they were looking for.
Yeah, rough tidings there for the start, but it's just one map. Plenty more coming up very shortly here as we get ready to jump in. We do have some substitutions out. It's going to be Fleta taking to the stage, subbing in for Fitz.
So Fitz and Fleta both, you know, serve similar roles. Fleta is one of those players that, you know, we usually define DPS. We will have Highly coming in as well for Jaehong. We usually define DPS players in two categories, Architect as well. For Rascal.
You can do your point.
Actually, surprised to see him in for Rascal. We'll get to that in a moment. Fleta is one of those players that you don't define as either projectile DPS or hit scan because he's so good at both. And he has heroes on both sides he's very famous for. His Widowmaker and his Pharah are the two that really stand out for most people. We know his Doomfist is quite good as well. And we'll see what he ends up playing today. As you know, a lot of the heroes he plays overlap with Fitz. But it's Illicit who's usually the projectile player in all of the rosters he's played on in the past. You might see him stick with the Mei.
I mean, if this is indicative of anything, perhaps we're going to be getting some Fleta Widowmaker coming in.
Could be.
So maybe him versus Striker, perhaps, in that regard.
An Architect coming in for Rascal as we head into Temple of Anubis. Could be, you know, the first time we see an Architect Dragonblade in a long time. And, you know, Genji is one of the heroes Architect really made a name for himself on in the beginning of his career. You know, and he finally gets to play with teammate Choyo Ben, former teammate, you know, and now obviously transferred into Overwatch League. They're reunited here. It's a DPS and tank duo. We'll see how Anubis goes. Dive, seeing a lot of it right now on this map.
Yeah, I mean, Genji. Certainly a possibility here for Architect. Let's see what they have planned on the side of the Shock with that coming through, that substitution.
Anubis is a map that's designed really well for Genji dive because you have a choke point at the front that allows the defending team to operate around the choke while poking at heroes that are trying to approach. But once you get through the doorway with a highly mobile hero like a Genji who has 2 jumps and has a dash ability, can climb walls, it's kind of free reign for the Genji to harass, poke, and build a Dragon Blade, especially when there's a Mercy pocketing the Genji from behind. So would not be surprised to see either Fleta or Architect pull out the Genji at some point on this map. Will be the Orisa Junkrat Widow for the Shock to start things off, and it's all up to the Dynasty to decide after scouting this if they want to put him on it.
Well, we'll be going on the attack first for the Seoul Dynasty. Fleta right now showing the Widow.
It's interesting that Fleta and Illicit and Fitz to a lesser extent all kind of serve really flexible roles on the DPS. So both Fleta and Illicit can play the Genji, Fitz can play the Genji. It was really Munchkin who was more Tracer dedicated, Widow dedicated. So, you know, we might see, this might be a game where we see both Illicit and Fleta play Genji, potentially.
Shot coming out there from Striker, unable to find any contact. Taking that bullet away. We've seen some extremely fast Riptire builds from the Junkrats on defense. Let's see how Architect fares. pop up over the top.
Fleta is the meta, is a common saying. We'll see if he can live up to last season's Widow play. Jexay is pocketing Illicit here.
They're trying to build up that blade as rapidly as they can. Trap set there on the ramp, but going to be avoiding that one. Here's Illicit as he works his way around the back. Marvel, he pushes forward up over towards the point. He's taking a lot of damage off screen. Had to use that adaptive shield just to try to survive. Finally start getting top back up. See Dynasty trying to split the attention of the San Francisco Shock multiple ways here at the moment. Listen though, spots out Striker and needs to be careful. Does have the deflection up, but needs to nail the timing if he wants to try to answer that shot back over onto the enemy Widow. Deflection now going to be used as he dashes through. Still playing very much up front.
Look at
the face of the Shock.
Architect's built very little Riptire charge. And this is actually a rarity to see the Genji outpace the Junkrat, as the Riptire is so critical at defending against the Dragon Blade. Illicit farms so much off of Choyo Bin. This is a big problem because the Nano Blade is coming, and I don't know if Architect is going to be ready.
Only halfway there at the moment. Pile Driver going through. The blade's going to be out. The Transcendence is there from Violet. Mitigating that damage. Oh, the trap! Perfectly set up from Architect. He takes down Illicit. Doesn't need a Riptire to kill off the Genji.
Well,
doesn't matter.
There you go. You just use one of your basic abilities, the trap.
Yep. Just tricked him and baited him straight into it. Very nicely done.
That's a huge turn of events here. In terms of ults, the Seoul Dynasty had such a great setup there. They didn't have the nano boost ready, but Illicit just figures, look, I'm definitely outpacing Architect. I'm going in. And all it takes is a misstep on the Swift Strike right into the trap, and it's over. The Dragon Blade is done, and now you've got to start on square one.
Minefield coming down. Marvel trying to protect himself. Nano Boost going to have to be used by Hylie to keep him alive in the fight. He'll roll into the back, looks to finish off Striker, who has no support ready to go. He does get taken down. Marvel trying to swing out of the building. Being stuck just a little bit there for the moment, but now has the pocket of healing coming in from Jexay to make sure that he's still going to be in the fight, but there's a Riptire that can potentially shut him down. He's still hovering around half HP. Architect himself, however, will get finished off while he's using the ultimate, but he needs to find a target right now. Finally spots Illicit, will be able to pop him. Marvel still playing forward, jumps up over the top, the rest of the Shock here on this high ground. So the res can go up from Jexay below.
Okay, this is a great opportunity for Illicit to get the last 14% of this blade, and the Shock are not in good position to deal with it.
Yeah, 2 ticks going to be snatched up, and now the Transcendence coming in from Violet. Pile Driver's out from Marvel, but still getting knocked down below half HP. He has another minefield. Will be wrapping his way back over towards the spawn as we hit under a minute remaining for the Seoul Dynasty on this attack. Just as Michelle loses his mech.
This is great res from Moth, bringing Architect back, keeping everybody healed up in the chaos while the Shock stayed in proper position. Striker still on this Tracer, keeping his position as well unknown. I don't think this time Architect will be lucky enough to hit the trap onto Illicit when the Nano Blade comes through. The full combo is ready for the Seoul Dynasty, and this is do or die. If this blade doesn't cut this point wide open, then the Seoul Dynasty are going to find themselves 2 ticks full held.
Have the Nano to go along with it. Just have to wait and see what the setup is going to be. Spots out Architect. Riptire's still 20% away. Tries to spam his way back up, the dash up into the air, diving forward. Violet taken out. Now Trehoven gone to the minefield. Looking for a little bit more. Adaptive shield's gonna be popped by Smurfus. He's also anti there, but Striker manages to find the kill here onto the Genji. It's gonna be Slut. Pulse Bomb is gonna be waiting in his back pocket for now. Moves over to the side. Moth trying to keep him topped up, and now Trehoven's gonna be gone. But Architect, he gets a tire. He takes out 2. Both support's gonna be gone. Pile Driver manages to find Moth, but now Michelle is gonna be eliminated as well. Architect drops his way down, has the trap set up, and Marvel has no HP. He rolls straight into the trap. It kills him off. OT takes down, and that's a full hold at the hands of the San Francisco Shock.
You don't normally focus on Mercy as the carry player, but on this map, he brought Architect back to life twice, and twice Architect delivered. Moth with a great Valkyrie there, great survivability, and insane that the Shock were able to hold both times in dire straits, and both times off of Moth's great Mercy play. Gonna take a look at this moment again where Architect is able to Riptire.
Yeah, straight down, didn't have far to travel. Highly getting pocketed by Jexay means they're both together, they both can get taken down.
And this all comes from Moth's res, and he was kept alive during the Riptire by Moth, who stayed with him.
Fantastically done there for the Shock, got the full hold. 90.2% is what they have to beat.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
And we are now ready for the Shock to go on their attack. Pulled off a full hold there versus the Seoul Dynasty. 90.2% is what they have to beat, and they will tie us up 1-1.
It's like the team, everyone's looking at Moth right now. I mean, he had an incredible defense there on the Mercy. Everything that Architect did in that last moment to wipe Seoul Dynasty was only made possible by Moth both surviving and getting off the res. And there's value inherently in a Mercy, and sometimes a Mercy doesn't fill the kill feed. But I guarantee you, we're still commentating point B right now if Moth doesn't get that res.
Yeah, I mean, when Mercy was, well and truly busted, we used to call it the Moth meta. And he is making it look like we're still living in those days.
Yep.
Very nicely done by him. Striker looking like he's going to flip back over onto the Widowmaker. Square off against Fleta as he gets set up on this defense with a listen on the Junkrat as well.
Junkrat, Genji, always the projectile player's role back in the day, but Fleta being very flexible, not only able to play Junkrat and Genji, but also one of the world's best Widowmaker players, so this duo makes sense for Anubis. And he's playing very far forward, playing risky. He wants to scout, and it will be Architect Genji. Long time no see. We'll see an E and Striker and an old traditional dive comp. Tracer Genji.
Well, already forced to recall, but Striker playing that far up. He's trying to hide. Doesn't go very far. Keep over on the side. Gets that body shot there on a Violet. Marvel will be able to mow them down, pulling them back in. Both supports disappearing.
All right, well, Fleta in a position now to really shut down the Dragon Blade build time by either denying Architect charge by forcing him back or killing Moth, which would neuter the ability for Architect to play enough forward to actually get that blade. Illicit's outpacing the ult charge right now, and that is very important.
Pushing over to get that mega pack. Self-topped up. Architect struggling really to find a way to poke in. Get that blade built up.
This is a style of play that San Francisco Shock pioneered last year with the Genji pocket. It's not working well for them right now, though.
Jump up here onto the high ground, gets the deflection rolling through, but Illicit, he plays it patiently. Just waits until it's gone, throws that bomb straight into his face.
Yeah. Architect only halfway there. This isn't enough damage.
Yeah, dive onto the high ground here from Smurf, but everybody just collapses in on top of the Winston, takes him out.
They committed to a 5v6 fight. At that moment, Architect was still walking out of spawn.
All right. Fancy shots there from Violet, but the res is available.
Yeah. Striker's looking to get that pulse kill here, but he's spotted.
Yeah, now the Transcendence is going to be forced out here from Violet. Tries to stay alive, pulse bomb is still ready to go. Highly going to be finished off before he can actually get his own Transcendence up, and Michelle's going to be forced to use that self-destruct as the pulse bomb takes him out of the back. Seeing Illicit still playing here onto the high ground alongside Michelle. Will be using the Riptire. Try to shut down this push. Comes around the back, spots the Genji there for the moment. Rolls it through, will be able to finish off Violet. Is that going to be enough to stop the push here from the Shock?
Architect's got the blade.
Haven't been able to take up here onto the point yet. Trihoven's going to be knocked out of the mech. The blade is ready. Jumps up over the top. Manages to find Illicit. Looks for a little bit more. Slices and dices Marvel down to about half HP. Can't quite finish him off, but now Highly going to be gone. Now here onto the point. Nearly the second tick coming through for the Shock. So they look to just go ahead and finish this one off. Marvel will be the last one to fall. And Shock goes ahead, takes this one up, and ties up our series 1-1.
Architect with the blade finished there. He made the call. They could have just walked away and said, I'll push with the blade on the next push. It's ready. But he made the call. He drew the blade, and Seoul Dynasty did not have enough peel to deal with it. No Riptire left. And Architect cleans up house on the defense and on the offense.
Well, this round of Rumble's not one-sided. We are tied up 1-1. We'll see who takes it in the end after halftime.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right. The Nighthawk Router Rumble never disappoints, and the newest installment is no exception. We've got another tight one. It's all even at one apiece here at the half. Welcome back inside the Blizzard Arena. We got a very rowdy crowd. You guys are rowdy, right? Very rowdy today. They're getting fired up. They're not so good with cues. We're working on that, but you two are great with them. So let's jump into cue number one. Bren, tell me about our first game.
Yeah, debatable, honestly, with the Q aspect that you were just talking about. But game one was pretty one-sided affair, honestly. When we talk about the Seoul Dynasty, I wasn't really expecting much for them coming into this. I didn't really know what to expect coming into this matchup. But it felt like San Francisco Shock. They love to try new stuff coming into new metas. We saw this earlier in the year, actually, stage one. They're experimenting with their roster a lot of the times as well. They're still in the process or the phase, almost, of switching things up.
Yeah, and Fitz dominated. They couldn't shut him down whatsoever. They tried Rascal and Striker on a variety of different heroes, but they just couldn't find a way to shut down Fitz. He was using the speed boost from Jaxir, getting into great positions, and then there'd be a wall behind the Orisa, and he would just go in and mow them down. He had so much support, and the way that they were building around him was really good. We've seen so many teams run this Reaper kind of composition. It does seem like it's going to be a mainstay on at least Busan, if not extending to a bunch of other of our control maps as well.
Malik is going to be so pumped tomorrow when he sees Reaper's back in the meta. Reaper's back, baby. Let's talk about this second map, though, because both teams going with a roster overhaul, making 2 swaps each. This one looking a little bit tighter. Talk me through what we saw in Anubis, because we never got to that second point.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those cases where almost you blink and you miss it, because it was quite a quick map. This was sickeningly good by Architect.
Had to do it as well.
Yeah.
Nanoblade was in.
Wolf and Achilles were talking about that. The tire is one of the main deterrents for the Blades. He needed to get that kill then. Architect hard carried this first point with his play on Junkrat. Something that I didn't think I'd ever say again, honestly. I think the last time I said it was when Jake was playing a lot of Junkrat back last year. But he put up an unreal performance, and the whole team worked around this composition incredibly well.
And I will say it's a lot to do with the setup of the San Francisco Shock and how disciplined they are. I know the casters were talking about the Moth's Resurrect a lot. The Moth. About Moth's Resurrect a lot. He's not a literal moth guy.
The moth. Yeah.
But they wait for that first pick to come through and get value out of the Resurrect. So they're forcing a hard commitment out of the Seoul Dynasty to get that one pick, then they get the res, and then the tire comes out afterwards. They don't blow their tire too early on. They make sure that they're very set, very disciplined, and they're waiting for Seoul to overextend into them, and they get the value out of it that way. They still have that classic San Francisco Shock clinical teamwork, even though the team is quite different. It feels like a very different look.
Yeah, back in the previous meta, the Shock, they were definitely in a different tier from the Seoul Dynasty. How close is this matchup right now? It's tied 1-1, but there's still 2 more games to go.
Yeah, still anyone's game right now. I mean, this is the thing that I was saying earlier, is the San Francisco Shock still working out what they want to run as their primary lineup, it feels like. But also we're moving into a meta where maybe you want to make these swaps, you know, small changes here and there. It's not the same way you can run the same 6 individuals day in, day out.
Josh, I have to ask you, if you're the coach of these teams, we got Hollywood coming up, map 3. What lineup do you want to see from each?
I want to see the same kind of lineup that we just saw there on Anubis. I think both of those teams were running lineups that will work very well when it comes over to Hollywood. It's a map that's going to favor those Orisa and Roadhog kind of compositions. So Smurf and Choyobin would be fantastic, and Architect can still get big value out of the roles that he can play. I think they've got the right heroes in at the moment. It's weird that we're not seeing guys like Super and Sinatra in the lineup for Shock, but it's going to work out for them.
Super's just sitting there petting his golden Nighthawk router belt.
I took it off him.
Oh, you took it off him?
He's got to work it back.
I've got to give it back to the winning team.
We'll find out. Is Super and the boys going to get it, or is it going to Seoul? The Router Rumble continues when we come back.
I started watching some streams of the pros, and the pros were amazing. And one of the biggest guys I saw was awesome was Hydration. He was part of the Gladiators.
Suddenly I'm at every game, and
the beautiful LEDs, the cheers of the crowd.
It shields up. It's thunderous applause. It's roaring in the arena. It's a lot of clap, clap, stomp, stomp. You just kind of get sucked into it.
And I've been hooked ever since.
back. We are all tied up 1-1 here after the half. San Francisco Shock able to get that victory there after a full hold on Temple of Anubis, so evening up the odds, trying to maintain control of that belt.
Yeah, and you know, this has been a great series so far. We're seeing great plays on both sides. You know, Fitz coming out with the Reaper to start things off, Architect showing he's the better Genji, and Rat combo, you know, of the projectile side of the DPS things there. Shock full holding, getting a pretty early take on A. And as we head into our third map, which will put one of these two teams into the lead, you know, I think we're going to see a closer map here than the kind of one-sided both maps we saw first and second there.
Oh, I will tell here as we get ready to jump into Hollywood, but we will have Sinatra taking to the stage, one of your MVP candidates. He is back in, will be subbing through for Architect. So for all the Sinatra fans at home panicking that he wouldn't see play here in stage 4, rest easy, he's back on stage.
Certainly is, and he'll be playing damage here. Will not actually be on the Zarya. So finally get to see some Sinatra play, maybe the Tracer. We will have to wait and see. With Hollywood being the map, I think there's a decent chance we will see him play the Sombra as well. As we head into this one, you know, I mean, there's a lot to kind of talk about because we haven't really seen this map all too often yet here in our first 2 days of stage 4.
Well, historically, quite a strong map here for the Dynasty, 6-1. Shock though, 4-2, so still very strong victories here on Hollywood for both of these squads. As we get ready to move in, Dynasty going to be first on the defense. You can see Fleta with the McCree coming out,
yeah.
and Illicit with the Junkrat again.
So the Junkrat will serve as another dive deterrent in this setup with the Orisa Diva in this case, and you're going to have Fleta doing the majority of the damage. With Striker and Sinatra in, it is going to be Tracer Doomfist dive, not going to be Tracer Genji.
Yeah, but Sinatra, the one on that Doomfist Striker, just as famous for the Tracer.
Now, the Concussive Mine and the Flashbang are two cooldowns we have to really keep an eye on against this style of play.
Yeah, absolutely huge against these damage duos coming out from the Shock. Sinatra getting a lot of damage, has to go ahead. Makes it into the back, pick up that Mega Pack. Already the one tick gonna be snatched up by the Shock, just playing down below the Dynasty. And finally do drop down. Fleta manages to find the first kill, but Sinatra coming in with the seismic slam, manages to cut down the McCree down to size. Wasn't playing right up into the face of the rest of the Shock members, however, comes up with 2, helps pop Troy out of that mech after taking down Sinatra, and is now looking to finish off Smurf. He's still rather healthy on that wrecking ball. He's just gonna be looking to peel back in all likelihood, but Buck will get caught up in the fire and the explosions. He can take it down.
Shock need this composition to steamroll. There's not an ult win condition like the Genji compositions we just watched on Temple of Anubis. You need to kill everyone early.
Well, Fleta gonna be taken down. Sinatra pushing forward. Nano boost out from Violet. Gonna keep everybody topped up here. Chance to get that seismic slam hit going in. Violet snipes Illicit's tire out of the air. Now the Meteor Strike coming through in the cafe. They got to sleep on the Jexay. The Transcendence will do nothing to save his life. He is gone. Striker gets the pulse bomb in. Marvel gets eliminated. And that is the Shock taking point A in style.
Very stylish indeed, but that's the kind of snowball that you really need with this composition. And they made it work, you know, and killing the Mercy especially very important to prevent those resurrects from going off. And now Seoul Dynasty is going to change their composition to match the dive. And Tracer Sombra, something that, you know, a lot of people were talking about thinking we might see with Brigitte, you know, removed from the meta, so to speak, because her role is just not going to be, you know, before her rework, her healing output is not going to be good enough to be played as a support at the moment. And Blood actually swaps over to the Reaper, interestingly enough. It's going to be hard to control high ground with that.
Now, Sinatra taking a little bit there, the minefield. Mostly going to be up top, deterring anybody from going up to match the San Francisco Shock. Cart going to be contested here for the moment. Swing comes in from Smurf, gets that single knock-up off the back of the pile driver. Now Ivy going to be taken down by Striker into the back lines. Roll forward, looking to displace Fleta, goes into that range form. Now he's looking to go toe-to-toe against Sinatra. The help of Illicit, certainly able to come out on top of that one, but Striker still putting in some serious work. Takes down 2 himself. Fleta gone. The cart will go ahead and roll.
I don't know if the Reaper is really going to be the right pick here for the Seoul Dynasty. You can't control high ground to poke with this, and that means the San Francisco Shock can continue to just bulldoze their way through with the dive that they're running. And when you're running the Wrecking Ball as well, that extra disruption makes it really difficult to play Reaper. And usually, the Wrecking Ball can live through the Reaper damage or can escape it.
Striker is back, looking to assassinate highly again. Unable to do so this time, but the sound barrier comes in from Bob, and he actually also finds the kill on a Marvel. Another Meteor Strike from Sinatra. Takes down Highly. Jexit gonna be gone. Oh, getting a bit bloodthirsty here, it would seem. They just go ahead and clean him up. Your team Wipe coming through for the Shock, cruising their way into point B.
Now the Dynasty gonna have to use this EMP, you know, not where they wanted to. They wanted to use it to contest B.
Pulse into the hallway. The damage in, Highly taken down. Good split spawn, capitalization here from the Shock.
Well, at this stage, you know, I mean, this is incredibly good for the Shock. No one can even get out of spawn here for the Dynasty, and they have ult advantage. I mean, this is Striker visiting their spawn uninvited. He didn't even call first. Seoul Dynasty has got the EMP set up here now for a Death Blossom. But even still, I mean, Choyobin could eat that as long as he's not hacked. There's a lot of ways the Shock could shut this down.
On the EMP, going to be tossed out, manages to find 4, including Choyobin. Will go ahead and be the first one to get knocked out of that. Smurf will be taken down just as well. No defensive matrix for Fleta here on this Reaper means that all that damage is going to be unmitigated.
You don't really have a turn for this, but it's very common to see, you know, you don't have a support ult to counter the EMP. Teams just throw a fight like that by walking in, getting EMP'd and losing it, and resetting as fast as possible. And that's what they decided to do. Didn't actually try to fight it. They've got such a good time bank, doesn't matter.
Yeah, effectively, getting the push here. Pulse bomb going to be online. You can hear that Death Blossom coming in. Fleta setting that one up. Goes dangerously low, trying to survive. Didn't yet have that Wraith Walk ready, but the sound barrier comes through from Jexia to help keep him alive as well. Choyobin going lower and lower in that mech, trying to stay in the fight. He will be able to do so as both supports again are going to be gone from the side of the Seoul Dynasty, with Jexia and Highly being eliminated by two different ultimates. Marvel, Primal Rage rolling, but going to be expiring soon. He's going to have to try to exit. Make it out with his life intact. Touch on the side helps finish off Striker, but the card has been rolling up in the meantime, and Sinatra manages to take down Fleta. The punch in, weakens Marvel, can't quite get the finish. You can see the passive shielding building up for this Doomfist. Now has the Meteor Strike coming in again, drops down, looks for the kill there on the Highly, manages to find it, and also gets Michelle out of the mech right at the end. 3 meters away, the card gonna start rolling up again. Minefield thrown down, Fleta is trying to hide, but he's all alone. That will be the push through. 2:27 on the clock for the Shock.
Sinatra, MVP candidate for his Zarya play, but in dive and on the Doomfist, he dominated. He's got the self-sustain with the shielding, and he is just rolling this through. Great time bank here for the San Francisco Shock, and he might even get to run it on the defense here. Very excited to see what he's capable of now that we have 2-2-2 lock in play.
Clean play from the Shock. Let's see how their defense is when we come back.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
All right, finishing Hollywood. Shock establish a time of 2:27. Seoul Dynasty have to push all the way to the end, but I mean, Shock are looking pretty darn good. Sinatra showing off with that Doomfist, but for now on the defense, we'll be shifting over to the Meg.
Indeed. And this is kind of what you would expect to see from Sinatra, given the meta. The Doomfist was flashy and impressive, and you know, people were wondering, will we see what people are calling Hack Fist, the Elemistic Doomfist Sombra? Not really, not yet, but the Tracer Doomfist, the dive, was incredibly successful. Now they have a lot of CC with the Halt Hook combos, they have hacks, they have the slows, freezes, the wall. It's going to be very difficult for Seoul Dynasty to approach a setup like this, and they're always going to be under threat of Sinatra walling them off. Striker from behind as well. While they try to regroup and figure out the best way to approach. He's getting hacks, he's getting a fifth of an EMP. It will be the McCree Hanzo to try to break this open, or to break that barrier and get onto the point.
Barriers coming in from Marbles. They try to advance. The hook going to be on cooldown now for Trehoban. Unable to lock anybody down. Pushing their way up, handle the hammer. They get that extra damage through. Get Smurf quite considerably, but he's going to get top back up now. Marvel and Illicit both going to get picked off. They play up onto the high ground. Trehoban coming in on that flank. Flashbang forward, but Flood just doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, and we discussed this problem earlier, Kilios, about the you know, the Diva versus the Roadhog when we were talking about gods for the Defiant. And this is a similar situation here for Michelle. The Diva doesn't give you a great amount of utility in this composition. In fact, it's a liability. It gives both Sinatra and Striker more battery for their ults. You could easily just chunk out the Diva slowly. And Striker's already at an EMP here. They've got the choke control. A Hog might be much more appropriate against this style of play. You can break the barrier with the barrier break comp you're running, the McCree Hanzo. I'm not sold on this Diva play from Michelle right now.
But already taking a lot of damage. The EMP comes through, manages to catch out 3. Bionade on top of 2 more. As they just go ahead and push forward, Smurf going to be the only one lost on the side of the San Francisco Shock, but he'll be rezzed and back into the fight with plenty of time to spare before that next fight comes in.
Yeah, and with how poorly the first fight went, Hylia wasn't able to build a Transcends. They knew it. That's another one of those fights, you know, just like we were talking about before with Shock towards C, where you just lose a fight to EMP and reset. But because of the Mei, Michelle gets staggered so long that it doesn't even feel like it was worth it. Might have been more worth it to try to stay and fight, but got an ult advantage now.
Half the time going to be gone now. Was it still going to be online? An old man, Amp Matrix comes through, and the headshots are there on the Marvel. Old Hog going to be used as well. Overall, not too much of a commitment here for the Shock. They build up 40% of that next EMP.
Oh, we've talked about this a million times already, but right, the teams voted for the 2-2-2 lock, and they've known about it for a long time. The cool thing about Smurf is he's been outperformed. Your Smurf's been outperforming him all season long, and that's why he's been in, and Smurf's been on the bench. But this gives an opportunity to Smurf to specialize in this role of Orisa during the off-season between stage 3 and 4. And because of this, you know, Smurf is playing in a great Orisa right now. He's really showing up on the hero. Not to say that Marvel is that much behind him, but they're clearly not ready to run the Orisa Hog because Michelle's been playing almost exclusively Diva all series long.
Yep. Ball coming up, going for a little bit longer. Floody gets that one tap coming around the corner. Gonna be looking for some kills. Dragon Strike rolling through, not getting too much meaningful damage, and the Supercharger is gonna be there, but now Smurf will get finished off by Illicit. The flashbang in, the fan, the hammer means that Sinatra cannot use that Blizzard. Let him falls low, but he kinds his way back behind the barrier to keep himself safe. But oh boy! So Hillman on the flank comes up with a kill. Second tick nearly there for the Seoul Dynasty. They're gonna have to get this cap sooner rather than later because there's only 35 seconds remaining on the clock. But Shell with the bomb cleans up both supports. And they actually turn this one around though for the Shock. Striker managed to find the kill here on a Hylia in the back of the EMP. No one else gonna be hacked out. Now the Blizzard comes in. They bought enough time for Sinatra to rejoin. Hook coming through onto Michelle. They drag him out of the Blizzard. But here comes Splitter around the corner with that Deadeye ready. Manages to find the snipe on a Smurf. No buying time, however, are the Shock ready to lock down as much as possible. Flashbang in, headshots there for Fleta. They will be able to get the cap, but it's only going to be 2.5 minutes on the clock for the Dynasty.
Yeah, that's the same time bank the Shock finished with. Fleta needs to kind of pop off here on this low ground because if getting the high ground right now with a McCree is going to take you so much time and they're already so limited in time, you're going to have to use the elevator to get up there as McCree. Yep. Might just be worth it to swap to Widow here and try to control the high ground that way. Illicit's going to go over to the Sombra. Looks like they want to keep the McCree for stun potential. Well, as I say that, he does swap over to the Reaper. Again, we saw this on the defense for the Seoul Dynasty, very unsuccessful. And now they're gonna have the same problems on the offense, you could argue.
See what happens. Mortality Field gonna get taken down, but Smurf cut off away from the burst healing of Moth. Will be eliminated. Striker weakened up. And Matrix through from Jexay. Also that one down on the card as they start advancing forward. That mobile damage boost coming in. Choyobin get melted out of the mech by Fleta. Solid start to the push so far here for the Dynasty, but need to keep that momentum going. Bomb up over the top, takes down Choyobin. That baby Neva, but Marble still gonna get finished off. Moth manages to come up with that kill. Jump over the top, and Alyssa gonna be taken down by Violet.
Chaos, but Chaos is good for a Reaper. The lifesteal is going to keep Fleta alive, and he does massive amounts of damage here. Struggling to find the kill onto Sinatra.
A bit more difficult in that regard.
But, you know, Sinatra has to leave, he just delays. They're going to have a great fight here, though, with Transcendence when Violet respawns. Fleta just trying to get the last part of that ultimate.
We'll be able to have Trans beat Trans. Choyobin, however, going to be knocked out of the mech, and the Death Blossom's about to be online, so Fleta has an opportunity here. There's limited mitigation coming through. Now Smurf as well to be taken out. Sinatra trying to be sneaky, waiting. There's a jump forward there from Marble. Doesn't get to use the recall. Highly from the flank actually finishes them off. The EMP is used. It catches all 6 members on the side of the Dynasty, but no one else is there. They'll just cruise through into B.
Yeah, this was a high ground they couldn't fight over. They tried to recontest the point. Striker's gonna swap over the Widow anyways. And he has a great line of sight here through this hallway next to C. But the EMP could have arguably been used to delay so much further. You already have the better time bank, but you could have, you know, perhaps even just won the map off of a really good EMP fight there and staggering the Dynasty back. Now they have their own EMP, and it should be smooth sailing here if they can catch Violet. Violet's gonna have to hit this Transcendence.
Yeah, EMP Blossom could be coming out. Striker getting jumped on by Elizabeth, but not before he's able to take down Highly. So very nice pick off from him. Choyobin tries to make it out of here with that mech. Still ready to go. Looks like the healing will be good enough from Moth and Violet to keep him alive. Bars on the side of the Dynasty, especially for the tank line here. Suffering a bit, so orbs have to come through.
Yeah, that's a value orb right there. Highly gets 35% off that orb alone as he heals him up to full. All right, Fleta's in the high ground. This could be a big Death Blossom, especially if they can demech Choyobin. He's hacked.
Yeah, EMP comes in, manages to catch 2. Striker picks Marble, now finds Jexay. Highly gonna be taken down, and just like in the shock, we're straight back into the fight. Blizzard used. That is it, they get the stop here. We're down to 50 seconds remaining for the Dynasty.
Fleta's so indecisive there. He wanted to blossom. There was an opportunity, but he waited because he thought when the EMP happened, maybe I don't need to use this, maybe I could save this. But the answer was no. The Blizzard buys time. Striker gets the headshots, and now the Shock in pole position to take the lead in this series. 30 seconds to go. The Dynasty have the old advantage still, but breaking through that trance, the Immortality Field, easier said than done. Especially when they have to go around this corner.
Yep. He just set up this Death Blossom. Fleta pushing forward, looking for the kill there on a Smurf. Immortality Field's gonna be used. Sinatra makes it into the ice block. It'll last for a little bit longer. Death Blossom now gonna be thrown down, but Marble's gonna be the first one to fall. Now Fleta gonna be gone. Gets locked up, and Moth, he claims himself too. Gets rid of Illicit as well. The damage duo going to be taken down now. Highly joining them in the grave. Jexay's alive. He's got the sound barrier. Might just have to use it here. Onto the 2 tanks, he can still play forward near the card as soon as he can rejoin. Gonna be zipping his way back in. The barrier comes down. It doesn't catch Marvel though. It only gets Michelle, and the shields don't last very long, nor does it listen to the Anubis, because Striker keeps putting up the numbers with the Widowmaker. Sinatra with another Blizzard ready to go just to ensure that they get the victory here. Might just throw it down in celebration. We'll do just that. OT dwindles away. The San Francisco Shock are at match point to claim the golden belt.
4 DPS players on this roster, all of different strengths and specialties. And we're seeing different combinations come up big for the Shock. Well, they've got Smurf in the Orisa seat. He's the specialist. And it looks like they're going to close this series out right now after 2 back-to-back dominant maps. Seoul Dynasty looking a little bit lost.
Yeah, backs against the wall for the Dynasty. Need to win on Escort to extend us into a 5th and final map.
The Overwatch League is powered by Intel. Game, record, stream without compromise on Intel Core i7. And by Omen by HP, the official PC and display of the Overwatch League.
We've seen some amazing skill this season, but in the end, there can only be one pro that takes home the Overwatch League MVP award, sponsored by the good folks at T-Mobile.
New players have risen through the ranks to become stars, while League veterans fight to remain on top. Now, the time has come to immortalize another player in the halls of esports legends and crown the 2019 Overwatch League MVP, presented by T-Mobile. Here are your MVP finalists.
Sinatra's been playing like a man possessed.
Sinatra.
Janu is certainly up there, best diva in the league.
Janu. Super.
Twilight gets in there, so but Twilight can handle himself.
Twilight.
Is Plan outrageous? I've never seen a player who's more mechanically skilled, I think.
Gushui. The winner will be determined by you, the fans, as well as Overwatch League casters and analysts. Cast your vote on Twitter using hashtag OwlMVP and the player's battle tag, or during any remaining regular season broadcast on Twitch. Voting ends on August 25th, so let your voice be heard. It's your league, your decision. Who will you choose as this season's T-Mobile Overwatch League MVP?
That's right, August 25th to get your MVP votes in. Make sure you guys do it. Perfect time to talk about it. We got two guys on the Shock who are nominated, so make sure you go over and vote here in the in-face on Twitch, or take to Twitter using the hashtag OwlMVP and the player's battle tag.
Yep, this is going to be, you know, you guys get to actually have a big say in this, so think about it carefully, vote responsibly. You know, I know Monty and Doe were talking about yesterday, vote with your head, not your heart. I think really think about it. Put your vote in the day before the deadline. You know, that's what I do.
Yeah, let it dwindle down to the
Be a responsible voter. I mean, really.
Don't get distracted by the Kit Kat rivalry weekend though, because you know that's going to be going on. The last day of that, I believe, is the deadline, so make sure you get those votes in, though. But, I mean, Sinatra with a pretty MVP-worthy performance on that Doomfist, then shifting over into the May. But we do have some substitutions here. Back over on the side of the Shock, Rascal will be rejoining on stage, subbing in for Striker.
That's right, but he won't be, you know.
He's not alone.
Yeah, he's not alone. Architect will be back in as well, so seeing this pairing of Rascal and Architect, we haven't seen this in quite some time, so the DPS duo will be joined by Super, who steps back in, also an MVP candidate of R5 here for the 2019 season. There are two members of the South Korean World Cup as well on the San Francisco Shock, and you know, Architect and Choyobin are going to be representing Korea, and unfortunately for Seoul Dynasty, no representation again this year after the first two World Cups were dominated by a lot of their older players. Havana will be our fourth, potentially last map. And it certainly feels like it's going to be the last map with how well Shock have played for the last two maps. They want to defend that golden Nighthawk Router Rumble belt that sits upon the Nighthawk Router Rumble podium on the stage.
Super coming back in to try to close it out, make sure that he can take that one back home with him again. He wears it to bed.
I'm sure he does.
Comforts him in the night.
Yeah, keeps him warm.
Seoul Dynasty set up here on the defense. We'll have Fleta on the Widowmaker's double sniper. Nothing too surprising, but Michelle, again, just going to be sticking through with that Diva.
And it looks like for Seoul Dynasty, Illicit is going to be on the Hanzo. This is perhaps his most famous hero back in Korea when he played for Blossom.
Was a good one for him. Choi-Hyomin taking a lot of damage there.
Yeah, and that's all Illicit's damage. He's halfway to a Dragon Strike.
Yeah, just about. See Architect trying to shoot through the bushes. Get those tags in. Have to break down that barrier first, though. Not really a good position for Choi-Hyomin to get any shield break through. Need to get a little bit closer. Moth going to be taken down by Hailey. Already solid pickoff for the Dynasty. Cart continuing to inch up. Now going to be below the Dynasty. So they're going to poke their heads out more and more, but this comes up with a kill here on the Violet now.
I tell you guys these players' backgrounds because, you know, there's a historical precedent for Illicit shooting people in the head with storm arrows, namely tanks. That was back when Hanzo was a tank buster hero, right after the rework when Storm Arrow was introduced. You guys, some of you young Overwatch League fans don't even know about Scatter Arrow. Probably be glad for it. But Storm Arrow, great at breaking tanks and also shields. When the barrier is down, Super is going to be vulnerable to Illicit's arrows there. And he and Fleta about to have their ultimates online. The Shock, not so lucky. Rascal's only halfway there.
Looking for that whole hook to come through. Hailey going to be taken down. Super able to get the melee, pull him in. Now wrap around the side. Marvel taking a beating from Rascal. Absolutely massacres him there. Dragon Strike is thrown in. Choi-Hyomin soaking it for a little bit extra to try to get some additional healing coming in from his squad. Trying to bump up those ultimates. We do have that Nano online. Getting closer to that next Amp Matrix. Nearly halfway there already.
Once you get around this corner, it becomes a lot easier to utilize the composition that the Shock is using because the Seoul Dynasty can't just hide up in that big room where they were on the high ground. They can become, you know, they're more exposed. They're out in an open area where the Hulk hook combos are more powerful. Rascal can actually start using his left click for damage. Blood is going to take Architect's head off. Yep. There's no res available here, so the Shock are just going to have to reset and look for potentially a Blizzard fight here with Rascal.
Pull over onto the side, looking for the kill on the Fleta, but the defense matrix is there from Michelle. Does help keep him alive, and now Super going to be taken down. The Immortality field doesn't last very long either. Rascal is in the back right now on top of Fleta. And just to find the kill, now looking for a little bit more. Whole Hog comes through. Marvel going to be anti for the bio nade. Can't quite finish him off yet. That will expire, and they're able to top him back up. Choi-Hyomin with the Whole Hog, not able to get too much value, but the cart is still inching forward here for the Shock.
Choi-Hyomin, nice angle here to try to break the shield. So the rest of the Shock's on the low ground. You can see the arrows just bust up that Orisa shield so quickly. Dragon coming through.
Tossed in, Dragon Strike rolling out from Illicit, looking for a pick. Be able to finish off that Immortality field. Cannot get any kills in the back of that.
Okay.
Jexay just brings Marvel back into the fight.
This is the time where Rascal can get really good value off of this Blizzard. Right at the B point here. Walls out to choke.
Yeah, walls Michelle back in. Illicit, though, comes up with a pick on the Architect. Rascal just trying to zone from the side. Self-destruct going to be used by Michelle, trying to make it back into the mech. Illicit and Jexay push down over onto the cart, trying to get this one contested. It's just 1.65 meters away from rolling into B and Illicit. He's left out the dry. Jexay has to pocket Hailey for just a little bit. And that means that the Hanzo does go down. Blizzard to seal the deal, going to be tossed in by Rascal. They're going to finish this one off. Spletta tries to get in behind some of these members of Shock to finish them off and stop this cart from rolling through. It still has not inched up more. Super, he's going to get taken down. They actually might be able to hold it here.
Rascal's just trying to buy time.
Into the ice block, wraps around the corner, finds Spletta, takes him down, but not before losing out on the Architect.
Jexay trying to battle Mercy. It's not going to work, but it's Illicit that will finally clean it up. The res onto Marvel was really well timed from Jexay in that last fight. He then used Valkyrie to help stick to the point, to have that extra sustainability, the healing there. And, you know, Orisa's one of the best res targets you can get in the game. Look at how much armor she has. Look at how much hit points she has. So you get her back alive, and it's a whole new team fight.
Shock getting drained down. Just above 2 minutes now.
This next fight can be a Rascal Blizzard again, but he needs to get into position to use it. Michelle's threatening that E constantly.
Yep. So their Immortality field's going to be gone. Amp Matrix is out. Deep pull there from Choi-Hyomin. So they try to get Michelle out, and they are able to do so. So now the Blizzard can have free reign over onto the point, but they might not need it. Hailey getting that Transcendence off just in time. Going to be keeping Marvel topped up. Dragon Strike comes in from behind for a pickoff. Rascal up onto the high ground. Still holding on to the Blizzards. The whole haul goes through from Choi Hyobin, cleans up Marvel, and the Supercharger gets the pick there onto Hylie, and the cart does glide through, so still do have that mate all ready to go for the final stretch.
Great play here from Choi Hyobin. Not as high accuracy as Sansum on this map earlier, but he's sitting at 67, so 2/3 of the hooks are going through. And Rascal's game sense, his awareness is insane. You watch him always threatening Illicit while keeping his team alive, putting up the proper walls, and helping to execute these halt hooks.
Oh, that's gonna be the halt hook there on the Fleta.
Speaking of which, you know, now he's got the wall up here. Anyone else caught behind that wall would have been caught as well by Choi Hyobin. Is this reaction times, game sense, and awareness really good here on the Mei, as you'd expect from someone who's got such a background on the hero.
Just kind of spamming out these right clicks in anticipation. And perhaps someone who's going to poke their head out eventually around that corner. Marvel going to get locked off.
There you go, there's the isolation, and if they can demech Michelle, this is a Blizzard potential fight. I don't know if they even need it.
Yeah, can still just hold on to it, maybe that last little bit just in front of point C.
And they've got Dragon Strike to pair
Hylie,
with it.
taken down. Shots going out. Violet able to find the killing blow. Finishes him off. Now the Anubis is going to be tossed forward. Right clicks aplenty here from Rascal. Before Michelle can get there, the Blizzard comes down. Marvel falls. Now looking for just a little bit more. Construct up into the air. Michelle sniped out of the air by Rascal, and the cart just goes straight into point C. That's the finish of Havana there for the San Francisco Shock. You see Super hyping up Architect.
Architect setting up a lot of that fight, but in terms of damage output, Rascal triples Architect's damage right now, and that's Mei versus Hanzo. Now, a lot of Architect's damage is being sent into Orisa barriers, etc., but Rascal is doing tons of damage with his right click. And we are so close to having Shock hold on to this Nighthawk Router Rumble golden belt, the championship belt that Super brought to the stage today. And, you know, Rascal is making a case for one of our stronger Meis, or being one of our stronger Meis here in Stage 4. It's the accuracy, it's the game sense, it's the pairing with Choi Hyobin on the Roadhog. And remember, this is Super's first Orisa of the series. You know, he's been out for the first 3 maps.
Yeah.
And he also looks quite well versed on the hero. You know, he's a main tank player. There's not that many of those out there that are meta, so you expect him to be, but the synergy just looks really clean for Shock. They only really struggled on our first map where we saw a lot of Reaper play, which perhaps was a surprise for the setup they were trying to run. The Dynasty now, I mean, this needs to be a speed run of A. And it's going to really come down to Fleta more than anything else. It's going to have to perhaps flank. They're going to have to play greedy and risky in order to match this time bank. And in this meta, it's tough to really trick people, you know, and Fleta trying to flank and get a kill. That's almost impossible when you've got bunker-type setups.
Well, will be a forward position here from the Shock. So they try to hold them just outside the spawn. The wall coming up, blocking up the doorway, making sure they can't get that hook off. Fleta popping up over the top, looks for the snipe there. On the Violet, but instead it's nearly Violet who comes up with a kill himself. It's a double tap in. Super gonna be sent sailing up into the sky, but still comfortable behind the barrier. And Architect finds the first kill of this half. The Illicit goes down.
And this is already a rough start. You know, we're seeing Michelle finally pull out the Roadhog because it's just so necessary right now after being demolished by San Francisco Shock on the Diva. About these last 2 maps and now half of a 3rd one. You know, you've got to match it. You've got to look for those hold hooks.
Yep, Michelle taken out. Architect finds another one. Bionade is on the 4 remaining members of the team who are still alive.
He's losing out in this matchup against Choi Hyobin. And Architect is starting to close the gap in terms of damage output between him and Rascal. This is, you know, a sleep, but there's just no way to follow up, unfortunately, for Hylie's squad. You know, he hits a sleep, but what does it mean when you can't get to Rascal here?
I'm looking for another attempt, gets the pull in. That's going to be Rascal taken down. Decent start for the Seoul Dynasty. Immortality Field going to be thrown in just for good measure.
Kind of misplaced wall there for Rascal that time.
Gets the pull here onto Marvel, but the barrier comes in, keeping himself safe despite the Bionade. The wall up, the pin in Super, but they will be able to retreat. So still a chance to contest as a full 6-man for the side of the Shock. The Dynasty, they get a decent bit of distance here.
And right now, Fleta's got this high ground controlled.
Pull in on the Choi Hyobin, looking to freeze him up. Able to do so. Dragon Strike over, to be tossed through onto the other side of the wall. Immortality Field is there, but they managed to take that one down. Nice block does manage to keep Illicit safe for a little bit longer, but as soon as he comes out of that, he does get cut down. So Shock reestablishing control of the cart. And they even spot out Michelle with a Sonic Arrow.
Yep, gets spotted. He does take out Moth, which is a nice pick here, but he is going to get taken out himself, which is, you know, arguably a good trade for Seoul, but I mean, you don't want to be trading right now, you want to be dominating.
Yep. Mortality Field used, gets the pull here onto Illicit. Take down the Mei again. Chance to use the Blizzard there. It's just behind that barrier in time to keep himself topped up.
2,000 damage the leader is Bin right now, and 65 hook accuracy at 40 the leader. He's just been able to capitalize on these faults way better than Michelle has. Liz got Dragon Strike, but you know, the Shock could just avoid it.
Yep. And Matrix comes in, Illicit gone, Immortality Field cleaned up as well. Dynasty, they've had these ultimates for quite some time, but they just have not been able to invest them.
Immortality Field was used here early, but it gets them a kill, so the Seoul Dynasty can't actually use the Dragon Strike. There's a tiny window now. I mean, really, threading the needle would be what Flood is doing if he hits this Dragon Strike before the next Immortality Field is ready. He's about to miss it.
Well, they get the pull in, that's going to be super. Dragged over towards the squad, but the Immortality Field is going to be there.
It's gone now.
Anubis going to be used here on Michelle, still holding on to that whole hog. For a cleaner opportunity to pull to the side, denying away that hook. Fortunate timing there for the side of the Shock. Yobin still going to be taking down Storm Arrows, and that Bionate cleans up the Roadhog. Dragon Strike rolls through over onto the cart, doesn't find any kills. Pull in now on a super, he will get executed. Actually going to be gone, but Violet taken down as well as Moth tries to retreat. Seems like he will be able to do so. Shock. Do they try to contest at all? I don't believe that's going to be possible. You can see them just go ahead and peel back. So Dynasty get another chance.
Yep, Dynasty going to get this chance, as you say. 2:45 on the clock. And this is something, if they dominate through B, they could absolutely match the time bank right now. But it's going to have to be domination, and we just haven't seen that so far this map. Letta has this Dragon Strike again, another big one. He's taken out by the Sonic Arrow. And there's no Resurrect available, so that's going to really put a slow on this push. Rascal has Blizzard too, so if they try to drop down, they've got the answer.
Another pull there on a Choi Home, and the Bionades just constantly coming in. On top of the Roadhog to ensure that he can't take a breather. We'll be able to mitigate some damage that way, but there's just so much coming out from the Shock.
Way easier to use this when there's no Diva on the other side, and Rascal's got high ground control. He can place it however he wants. Looks like he wants to hold it for the big contest. Paul's taking him off.
Oh, pull in from the side. Michelle actually goes for the flank, goes outside, up the stairs. Will be taken down. Architect manages to find that kill. Banana Boost tossed in from Violent just before he got taken down.
It's crazy how much Architect and Rascal are able to accomplish together, but separately at the same time. I mean, Rascal just keeps holding these Blizzards because Architect is making the Dragon Strikes work. He's lapping him. He's just holding it because he doesn't need it. And Architect's flanking. Rascal's got the other side controlled. His walls together are making these kills come through. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is.
Ult advantage there for the Dynasty at the moment, but they're looking to turn that one around. The Blizzard comes in, Violent killing off Michelle with a Bionate.
And they're just not allowing Seoul Dynasty to set up to use their ultimates. Yeah. The Blizzard builds the Dragon Strike. The Dragon Strike builds the Blizzard. I mean, we see the Blizzard come through. After Architect won the last fight with his Dragon Strike, now he's built a Dragon Strike. By the time the Dragon Strike comes out, it's going to delay Seoul Dynasty, push them into a position where Rascal's going to catch some members, cut them off, and then he's going to build his Blizzard, and it just continues to cycle this way. The Seoul Dynasty almost have 6 ultimates here, outside of the Supercharger, but the San Francisco Shock won't let them get through these choke points to use them to set up for the fight they desperately need.
Yeah, they have to break that cycle. Next alien entrance takes a lot of damage, has to use that Immortality Field. Illicit going to be set up at the moment, nearly taken down. The Dragon Strike now going to be rolling through. Immortality still there. Keep everybody else safe. Answering Dragon Strike is in on top of the Blizzard. That's going to be a double kill coming through for Fleta. 5 members gone on the side of the Shock. Seoul Dynasty, they can get a lot of distance here. They continue to move forward towards B, but Shock should have one more chance to recontest this card.
It's not enough of a fast push here for the Seoul Dynasty. They're going to have to concede the point in terms of time bank, but this fight's really critical because the Shock have one more chance to contest here. See if they want to commit. Rascal at the front, and they have the Supercharger. Down it goes.
Yeah. Pull over to the side, Immortality Field, taken down, highly focus firing that one. Marvel up into the front, taking so much damage, and Moth is able to clean him up. Now the hook over on the side. Alyssa going to be taken out. Choi Hoban does fall before he can use the whole hog, but now Michelle's going to be frozen in the middle of his, taken down by another another bio nade from Violent. Jexay, Plata, all of them getting cleaned up. The OT dwindles away, and the San Francisco Shock, they take Havana, and they take the belt.
That they will. They are going to be two-time Nighthawk Router Rumble champions. The belt will again belong to this squad. The Seoul Dynasty put up a better fight than the last Router Rumble we had, taking an additional map. But after map 1, it was just utter domination from San Francisco Shock. Their 4 DPS players they have playing unique roles that are map specific. We saw Sinatra on the Doomfist, we saw him on the Mei, we saw Rascal play a little bit of everything, Architect on Genji, on the Junkrat, on the Hanzo. This is a terrifying San Francisco Shock.
Yeah, more and more versatility being shown by the Shock. Guys, we got Bren standing by on the floor with the San Francisco Shock and the Golden Belt itself.
Another phenomenal performance here from the San Francisco Shock. Now, Super, there's a lot of haters out there, right? They saw you go into the bench for the first 3 maps. You come back out. You come out swinging. A lot of names being called, calling you a Reinhardt one-trick. C-tier main tank. I'm pretty sure I heard Zoe say that. C-tier main tank. What do you have to say to the haters out there that they didn't think you were capable of this level of performance?
Listen, Brent, there's a lot of stupid people out there, you understand? They don't know what they're talking about, and they're gonna get mad that I succeed. But you know, you gotta ignore that, because I know what I can do, you understand?
Oh, I understand fully. I mean, you showed it right down in Havana. Wonderful performance from your team. Well, this belt is yours now. Your entirety of your team, you are the winners of the Nighthawk Router Rumble. Enjoy that. I know you like to sleep with it at night. You're, again, holders of this belt 2 times, back to back.
The two-time champion.
Back to back, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's all you really need to know about the San Francisco Shock. They're here. What's the next goal for your team moving forward? You're the owners now of the Golden Router Bout. What are you looking at moving forward as a franchise, as an organization?
I don't know, when's the next Router Rumble? When's that happening? That's all I care about? That's all that's important?
Okay, all right, next Router Rumble. You hit it here first. All right, back to the casters, Achilleos and Wolf.
Thank you, Brent. Glad you remembered this time. Always good to hear from Super and the San Francisco Shock. He gets to keep the belt with him at night, and he can take comfort in that. So solid performance from them. Like we said, Dynasty, they put up more of a fight, but after Control, even that was close, but it just became a heavier struggle with each and every map.
It really did, and you're really starting to see, I think, some of the differences between good teams and great teams in this very new meta. We're still only in day 2. Not trying to claim anything is solved, but I think one of the big standouts is whether you have a flex tank who's well-versed on multiple heroes, in particular the Roadhog. The Diva players who aren't flexing over to the Hog or aren't playing the Hog as efficiently are getting left in the dust by really well-coordinated Orisa Roadhog setups, which work across a variety of compositions. And I think that was one of the big weaknesses of the Seoul Dynasty. It wasn't the damage players, it was Michelle, who we had to say was kind of the weak link. Diva not making as big of an impact, Choyobin crushing it on the Hog.
Well, rough tidings there for the Seoul Dynasty. We'll see how they bounce back in future matches. But for now, let's go ahead and see our Omen player of the match. It's going to be Choyobin, who came up huge with the Roadhog.
He certainly did. I mean, it's an easy choice.
Flexing on him.
For Choyobin here. He is able to absolutely demolish Seoul Dynasty. It felt like at times almost single-handedly. There were moments across all 4 damage players for the San Francisco Shock where, you know, they had their own MVP moments, but Choyobin was the only real candidate for player of the match that played throughout the entire series and was playing consistent Roadhog every single map. But I think that's really the big standout between these 2 teams. The difference, you know, we have so many star DPS players. We had 7 of them that we really saw across this series, but it was Choyobin who was most consistent.
I mean, 61% hook accuracy across the entire series is pretty damn impressive, so solid stuff from Choyobin.
You know, a lot of people were worried the Shock were not going to perform now that Goats is dead and over, that we have a 2-2-2 lock. But, you know, I'm set, I'm sold that this team has a lot of potential right now here in Stage 4 and moving into season playoffs.
Yeah, well, taking a look here at the season standing, Shock still there just behind Excelsior and the Titans with a 17-5 record, plus 50 in their map differential. So still very, very solid, looking to clinch that spot in the top 6.
Yep, and they might, you know, pass New York Excelsior in terms of the season standings. That's probably a pretty short-term goal for them right now. If New York starts slipping behind, they certainly can pass them. They're plus 50 in map differential because they had that golden stage, right, where they were able to go 28-0. So absolutely insane
what the Shock have been able to accomplish in the previous meta and already kind of leading the charge here in Stage 4.
Well, very good start to the season here for the Shock, but guys, we're not done yet. We have one more match for you tonight. It's gonna be the Philadelphia Fusion going up against the Chengdu Hunters. We'll see how they fare in a 2-2-2 roll lock, so make sure you stay tuned because that's coming up next.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, now connecting 99% of Overwatch League fans. Catch your league on America's network, T-Mobile.